ready to mark up the fretboard for the mother of pearl inlay dots and our little mother of pearl emblem. First of all, I'm going to mark a new centre line down the fretboard. So I've got a centre line like that. Now we want dots at, first of all, the 3rd fret. Draw a cross across from the frets. With a bit of luck, the cross will cross at our centre line. And then we've got 3 lines meeting at what point, so we know that everything's nice and symmetrical. Use my scribe to make a dot where those lines join. A little dot there, and then if I really work that in, it creates, it's like a centre punch really, it creates a nice little hole for the tip of the drill bit to find itself when we're drilling the dot holes. And then we just repeat that for the rest of the dots. And this is really critical because the distance between the edge of the mother of pearl dot and the fret is not a lot. We're now going to drill the holes in the fretboard where we've marked our positions for our mother of pearl dots. The drill itself is a normal drill. It's a 5mm drill because we've got 5mm mother of pearl dots to put in the board, and I just ground the end of the drill flat, leaving a small point on the tip of the drill just so it locates nicely into this hole that we've made. If you just use an ordinary drill, it'll tend to wander a little bit. I'm just going to check the depth of the hole. You don't want to go too deep because these are going to be sanded flush to the fretboard. If you go too deep, all you're going to end up having to do is put some filler in behind. So that goes in. Oh, that's just proud. We just got away with that. So that gives us an idea of the depth of how it should appear as we're drilling. So let's continue. There we are, all done. Little bit of a mistake down there. A little bit of filler might cover that up, but that's life. We're now going to mark our fretboard for the position of our little emblem. We have to place this on the fretboard and try and hold it in place so it doesn't move while we scribe around it. The way I found for doing this is to spray on the fretboard some cellulose paint and then place the emblem on the fretboard, put it into position while the paint's still wet, and then let the paint dry. And this allows the emblem to be held in position. Now the paint has dried, we're ready to scribe around the inlay. What I'm doing is just tightly scribing around the mother of pearl so that I'm not only cutting through the paint but also leaving a scribe mark in the timber. I've gone around it a few times just so that you don't try and do it all in one go and try and dig too deeply in the wood and it slips and moves and everything. So you get a good little groove around your piece of mother of pearl. Now we can knock it off, which shouldn't be too difficult. Here we go, and bap, 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 bap. There we go. Easy, not too much force, and it drops off nicely. I've got this board made up which allows us to put the fretboard into this wedge shape, set a little bit, the fretboard set a little bit below the this board. Then when we put the router on the top, it will keep everything level and allow us to route out our little inlay. We want a routing depth. The mother of pearl is about 1¼ mm thick, so we want to add about 1 millimetre or so, a little bit more perhaps. Let's see if our little piece fits in. Okay, put that in there. Hopefully, if we've, hey, perfect. I'm just going to sand off the paint so that when we glue this in, we're going to mix in some of the ebony dust in with the glue to give it a stain, and we don't want to leave the paint on because this will get into the glue and the stain. Okay, and there's the last one. So right now, next thing is to get some glue and mix in some ebony dust as a dye for it, and then stick them in place. Nice blob there. We'll do a little bit more, but probably easy sometimes to mix up again. Okay, need some more. I'm going to then introduce some of this dust. With the ebony, it's the colour sort of comes out and goes into the glue, so you end up with your own personalised, customised wood filler. And you just mix it up till it goes black. Actually, you're doing quite a bit. It actually thickens it up as you do this as well, and it does start to dry very, very quickly. I'm going to do that, and I'm going to blob that into my, because this is, as it goes off, it's going to be harder to fix. Well, the dots will be quite easy to push in, but this will be quite tricky. So I'm just going to blob a load in there and push this in. Can't see where it's going to go now, but you'll soon find out about it, and then it'll squeeze it out. Oh, lovely. And just rub over it with your finger. Okay, we're done. We've let the glue dry overnight, and so now our inlays will be fixed in place, ready for sanding down. Before I do that, I'm just going to cut the fretboard width down to its approximate final dimensions. Got to measure 44mm by the nut position, so I've still got a centre line there. And then put this end, we want to measure 55mm. So there we are, we've sort of roughly marked out our board. Now we're going to cut that down with our little scroll saw, and let's get the scroll saw in place. There we go. So it's a bit more like the size of a fretboard. You can sand it down now. I actually glued the fretboard down with some impact adhesive, just a few blobs, just to hold it in place. Finding that's the best way to do it. So you see, we're starting to reveal the mother of pearl, which will sand down nicely. Just about done, and it all of a sudden goes, yeah, lovely, we're done. A work of art. We've now just got to finish the fretboard off before it's ready for gluing onto the neck, and we just need to sand these edges down so they're nice and straight. So the first thing to do is mark the fretboard up again for the sanding process. So that should give me 44 when I'm done, 44 and 55. We're just about there, so I'm just going to check with my calipers. 44.15, I think I'll settle to that. 44.09, okay. And 54.90, that's slightly small, but 54.96, close enough for me. The last thing I'm going to do is just cut the length of the fretboard with the fret mitery block, just so that we get a nice square edge, and I'm going to cut that as though it was another fret position. So that would in this case be 8mm from the previous fret. The reason for that is I want to make sure that the humbucker on the this end is as close as possible to the last fret, so that we get the best tone from that humbucker. Okay, so there we are, nicely through, and that is really smooth, that. Rock and roll. Okay.